to the SLC Sunday Experience. We are so glad you're here. Your soul is in the right place at the right time. The choir, as you can see, back from their winter break. And we have Dominic here on the percussion. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be.
I'm in the right place.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting a message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
My soul is welcome. Turn around and say hello to everybody that we're streaming to.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting a message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting a message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here.
Your soul,
My soul is welcome here.
my soul,
My soul is welcome here.
my soul.
My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here.
My soul,
My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome
Good morning, Reverend Louise.
Good morning, Reverend Deborah, and good morning, everyone.
There was sun earlier.
It happens.
You said so.
I saw it. Did anybody else see it? Okay, thank you.
It'll come back again. And we greet you this morning in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred, and in the warm and loving energy of this mission-centric ministry, Spiritual Life Center. And if you're with us for the very first time today, we especially want to welcome you because we know that you are not here by accident. Every single person here is here by divine appointment, and we're just so happy to be together today. And we also know that something very dear to you is either in your purse or in your pocket, and it's electronic, and we'd really appreciate it if you silence that during the service.
And we're going to talk a little bit about what unity principles are, what the 5 unity principles are. We love hearing this at the top of the service. It's a way to remind ourselves of what we really are rooted in here at Spiritual Life Center as part of the unity movement. So, number 1, God is absolute and everywhere present. No exceptions. God is absolute and everywhere present in all of the faces that I'm seeing, and including my own and Deborah and the choir and our whole team, everyone, everywhere present. People are inherently good. We believe that we are birthed into divine blessing, and that's everything good. Thoughts create our experience, and so in the mind, it is more important for us to understand what those thoughts do. The power of those thoughts create our reality, and may they be aligned with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So number 4, prayer and meditation are how we connect to the divine. So a deep prayer practice is how we connect truly to the divine, whether it's silence, contemplation, paddling a kayak, riding a bicycle, writing a song as Paula does. We all have our unique expression in connecting with that source. And we must live our truth. It is not enough to just know the words. It is a lived experience. And so as you venture out into the world, in case people ask you, you want to be able to articulate, what are those 5 principles of unity? That is what they are. And we will keep talking about that every Sunday. And we have a very special guest for you this week. Very special. She is no stranger to SLC. She began her addiction to radio at age 14, or so I'm told, when she visited a family friend at a Cleveland radio station. From then on, she was hooked. Those are her own words. So after working in commercial radio and corporate public relations, Donna discovered the joys of public radio. She's been an announcer and fundraiser and public stations for, I said 20 years earlier, but it's actually 30. It's 30 years. So she serves on the board of a national animal rescue. And earlier I said she served on the board of an interfaith organization. And she reminded me, gosh, it was Spiritual Life Center. So she is no stranger to Spiritual Life Center. She has served in so many capacities over the years. One of my favorite, she was our amazing professional announcer when we were over at Pioneer on L Street. And it was such a pleasure to see her on the platform. She's funny. She's witty and wise. And please give a warm SLC welcome to Reverend Donna Apidone. And this is the season for nonviolence. And it is a very, very special, reverent time as we practice peace and nonviolence. And it is marked by the memorial anniversaries of Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi. And so each Sunday we have someone come up and share the reading for the day. And this week, at the 11 o'clock service, we have our own finance chair on the board, George Piper.
Thank you. So the reading today is about being of service. Today I give myself in loving service. As I accept God's love for me today, I am filled to overflowing. This love now flows through me and into the lives of everyone I meet. I express this love by giving of myself in service to others. I give cheerful or heartwarming words to others. I give of myself in a gracious act that transforms the day for the one who receives it. I gently give a caring and understanding work to someone who needs my heartfelt attention. I consciously open my heart to allow God to express through me today. I become aware of the concerns and needs of others, and I have within me the right and perfect gifts to give. I affirm God's love, healing, and peace to all who come into my experience today, and I am blessed as I give from my divine nature within. Thank you, God, for my gift this day of loving service. And for me, when I'm thinking of being in service, what comes to mind is the prayer of St. Francis, which starts out by saying, "Lord, make me an instrument." And I do believe that it is by divine intervention I have chosen to be of service. For me, being of service brings indescribable, really good feelings that sometimes completely wash over me. And, maybe more importantly, there has been a powerful impact on transforming my life. My first experience of serving was birthed by my involvement in the 12-step program. In some retrospective thought, there is one experience that messaged to me that I could use service to be of impactful help to others. In a rehabilitation environment, I spent hours attempting to convince a person to not make a decision that could end his life. He did end up following his own decision. And of course, at that moment, I had to ask myself, what could I have done differently? Well, apparently nothing, because he did return in less than 12 hours after narrowly escaping death. As he said to me, I realized I needed to listen to you. Thank you, George. So in the end, I was able to make a difference through service to another. And this is what I call the first chapter in my being of service. The next chapter started about 19 years ago with my introduction to SLC, Unity, and New Thought. Throughout those years, I have immersed myself in service with about 9 years on Unity boards of trustees, many committees, and always looking for new ways of service. Because of the powerful impact being of service has had on my path of transformation, a path that has taken me from a consciousness of anger, fear, resentment, to a consciousness in alignment with who I truthfully am. One of love that embraces compassion, acceptance, forgiveness, and tolerance. Now let me say, I'm not quite there yet. Because of that impact, my intention is to make every effort to show up in a consciousness of loving, serving, and remembering.
Beautiful. Thank you, George. And
There was a frolic
there was
last
a frolic on
SLCers were
Friday.
frolicking.
Who was at the frolic?
I believe Elaine Leroy has something to say about this.
Well, thank all of you who bought a ticket, donated items. There was about 110 of us who frolicked away Friday night. And I just want to thank the prosperity team, the committee members, the many accounting and staff, and particularly Pat and Harvey and Carrie Freeman, who championed all the volunteers. We have special recognitions for sponsors like Robin DeLong, who sponsored our band, Miss Robin, and the beautiful job that Forethought and Ann Roach did that night. And Penelope on our choir, Penelope Clement, who also sponsored our food and beverage. Yeah. And our team of Cheryl Sabah and all of her kitchen crew, and Cheryl Gosh and her team at the bar. We also wanted to thank Jan Adrian and Nancy Hilton, who did the head of the registration team and all of the volunteers there, and Maggie McGurk, who was there taking beautiful photography for us and showing it throughout the evening. We also had Jeannie Chesko, who is also every week a volunteer for me in the office. She's my right hand. And Louise Bezark, who makes everything beautiful in that raffle room. And we had raffle sales teams roaming, and so many of you who gave your gifts to in our raffle palooza. We had over 20 raffle items in our mini raffle on Friday night. So great thanks to you. And in that grand prize drawing, I want to thank Claire Kinsley, who has donated several times the 7 nights anywhere in the world with WorldMark. She wasn't there Friday because she was actually using some of those WorldMark points and going someplace herself. And I also want to thank last-minute sponsors of the Moskovich family, Deborah, Bob, and Renee, who stepped up on Friday night to actually sponsor the $1,000 cash that was given away. So, and for those of you who were not there live, I want to announce the grand prize winner was Sandy Acevedo. So thank you all for a fabulous event, for helping us fund this beautiful mission-centric ministry. Thank you.
And we can't go without thanking Elaine.
Talk about superheroes. She are one. Wednesday, Wow Wednesday, Wisdom, Oneness, and Whimsy. We have Miracles Within, and Sally Skyon and some of her friends from her Monday night A Course in Miracles group will be here. They will do some readings from A Course in Miracles. There will be music that connects to the readings, and then there will be time for meditation, and it'll probably be a cycle of about 3 readings and going through that. I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity if you are familiar with the Course in Miracles, maybe a little deeper experience that night, and if you're new to it, it's a great introduction. The soup is at 6 and the service is at 7.
And we have some exciting classes coming up. We have the Q coming up this Saturday, and there are over 220 of you through that Q program, which is our core teaching at SLC, so that we are more aligned and more steeped in our practice of loving, serving, and remembering. It's a wonderful program. We want you to join us, so sign up at the cashier if you have that space available. We're also welcoming Krishna Guadalupe. We've postponed his class. It was supposed to be earlier in February. It'll now be on March 23rd. He is a beautiful teacher. He teaches from the soul and from the heart, and it's how he walks in the world. So I encourage you to spend that valuable time with him. Also, James is going to be offering a class coming up in April, so you want to mark your calendars. It's all in your bulletin. He's going to be taking a new twist on lessons in truth, in how to walk in truth in this day and age. So don't miss those.
And we have a special message from our Board of Trustees, Martha Mills. She's one of them, not all of them.
Thank you so much, and thanks to everybody who did step up to the plate and serve for Friday, and who served in the choir and serve in so many ways. It's really, we are a community of service. And what I'm here today is to ask you to think in terms of service as a board member to SLC. Today's daily word is fitting. Give of yourself and allow God to express through you. Our presenter today is going to talk about a call to spirituality and also ask the question, what do we leave to the next generation? Well, as a member of the Board of Trustees, you are helping to shape what it is we leave to the next generation. And through that process, believe me, your spirituality will be deepened. So we have an opportunity next Sunday afternoon from 1 to 3. The workshop's called So You Think You Want to Be a Board Member. Even if you don't, if that question is yes or maybe, or I don't even know what a board member does, which is what we hear a lot, frankly. Rather than get you elected and you're a deer in the headlights for the first year, we've decided to start giving a sort of a pre-class, a recruitment session. So please come, regardless of what level of your curiosity might be. We're going to talk about the role of the board at Spiritual Life Center in a religious nonprofit organization, and also talk about what it is as a board member we count on you for, and what our staff count on us for, and what the minister counts on us for, as well as everyone here in the community. So, and going forward, we have several important steps to take, and that is a call to leadership to help move us forward. So Donna's going to talk about transformation today, and it's quite apropos as a board member that's what you will help creating and leading. So we ask you to come if you're interested. Also, there are applications available in the office for the next board recruitment process. They will be online as of this week. We will take them through the month of March, and then in April, we will do some interviewing of the people who have submitted the applications, and then make recommendations for the membership to vote on at our next board membership meeting in May. So grab any one of us who are on the board if you want to know more, and we hope that you are feeling called in your spirituality to step into service as a board member of SLC. Thank you.
Just do grab them gently. Grab them gently. And I want to introduce you to some very important people. Will our ambassadors, our prayer chaplains, and our board stand? So the ambassadors wear that rainbow ribbon, and they are a great way to connect in this community if you have questions. Our prayer chaplains wear those beautiful white stoles, and they are here to hold us in sacred, confidential prayer, whether it is a time of celebration or challenge. They are in the back of the sanctuary after service and also across the breezeway in the courtyard. Thank you, chaplains. Our board wear that purple ribbon on their name tag, and they are the signpost. They are the roots to our family tree. And so if you'd like to germinate your seed and join them in that root, in the roots, in the tree. It's a tree. This is a spiritual community. See those board members after service. Sit down.
And if you are here for the very first time today, welcome to SLC.
I'm so sorry.
If you are here for the very first time, in a moment, we're going to ask you to raise your hand. But right now, we just want to tell you there are different ways in which you can become connected at SLC. When you raise your hand, the greeters will give you a card that you can fill out, and you can either put it in the offering basket or you can take it outside right around the corner to the welcome table, and they will give you a very special gift. So if you're here for the very first time, please raise your hand. And keep your hand raised, and they'll be coming around. And we are going to be giving you a chalet. And there is a tag on the chalet that says, "We believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and there are many paths to the one God." Thank you for joining us with your unique path today, and let us greet our newcomers and each other.
All right, so please stay standing, and I would like to bring your attention to this beautiful man standing at the microphone here. This is Harvey, and rather than staring at a screen, you can just look at his lovely face, and he's going to lead us in our song. Just follow along with the choir.
Love is the face of God.
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 Let go of the worry and fear. Let go of the worry and fear. Let go of the past and be here.
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 I am opening up to love. I am opening up to love. I am giving myself to love. I am giving myself to love. Love is the face of God.
Love is the face of God.
Love purpose, and that purpose is to live your life for love, for love, for love, for love. Love is the face of God. Peace is the face of God. Joy is the face of God. You are the face of God. I am the face of God. We are the face of God. All is the face of God. Love is the face of God.
Thank you. So as Louise was mentioning, we've been working with the Q process as a core teaching at Spiritual Life Center as a transformational process. And as a community, we determined some of our trigger shadow sides that hinder us, block us from living fully to our most beautiful potential. So we've been speaking these out loud to move them up and on out in our process of waking up, cleaning up, growing up, and showing up. So let us read this together. Please have compassion for us when we are being not enough, distrusting, blaming, powerless, and fearful, because this is who we have come here to be, inspired, in integrity, joy-filled, compassionate, unstoppable, generous, and transformational. And let's unfold all those beautiful qualities, shadow and light, into our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions, weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom. We cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet. And now, in preparation for meditation, we sing this beautiful chant by Karen Drucker. You are the face of God.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
are the face of God, and I hold all of you in my heart. You are all a part of me, and I am a part of you. So as we begin preparation for meditation, simply take a breath, settle into your seat. And I don't know about you, but dropping my shoulders is always wise. And let that seat just cradle you. And taking one full breath after another, drop those shoulders again and wear your body like a comfortable garment, allowing your eyelids just to rest for a moment, in sync with my voice into the space and the face of love. And as you feel yourself relax, allow your attention to be in the center of now. Your only focus is resting. The mind will go off duty, and it will enter a time of surrender. If you have a thought, let it flow up and rise in a cloud, and I guarantee you it will come back. So bringing your attention to the warmth of that beautiful space, the heart chakra, sinking deeper into comfort, as though you were in the arms of the most divine. Softness, warmth, comfort, unconditional love, a heart presence. There is no thing that is missing in this moment. All is safe. All is warm. And all is well. Whatever that is for you, whatever that safety is, Mother, Father, God, the one called by many names, the beautiful murmuring of a beautiful infant, my own dear mother, recently departed. It can be one you call doggy or kitty. It can be a place or a wave. You sit encircled by light, surrounded by love. Love finds me as I am love. Love surrounds me as I am love. Love guides me as I am love. And this is where we rest for a moment in the silence. It is my nature to love. I thrive in this space. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are always a part of me. And you are that face of God. I'm holding all. You are my family. I feel you in my heart. And as you come back into the room, keep a soft gaze, gently open your eyes, and look around the room and see truly the face of God. And as you order my steps, you lead me, you guide me, and we are all united in that love, for it can be no other way.
That's a choir that knows how to pray, huh?
All right.
LeJean, thank you. And of course, the best band of any congregation in town. They paid me to say that. It's an honor to be here as part of this celebration. And before I start, I just have to do what I always do. And before I put my glasses on, I want to take a really good look at who's here and kind of visually greet you. Because once I put these on, I will love you just as much, but you'll be kind of blurry. We are here to talk about the past and the present and the future, because what we are doing here today in this celebration really is the foundation. It doesn't go anywhere beyond this unless we really enjoy and appreciate this experience and who we are right now. And that is what inspires our future. You would think, after all these years of being a culture and a humanity and a country, that we'd have it together, but we are still work in progress. Today, what we're going to talk about is the opportunity that we have, all of us, to remember something that we already know, and that is how to connect with each other. We're making history today. We're making history for celebrations of this kind in the future. 200 years from now, 100 years from now, 50 years from now, the people who celebrate won't remember who we are. They won't remember our names, but they'll be able to honor the effects of what we're doing right now. It's so important to do what we're doing now for the future. I find history to be a lot more fun when I'm not memorizing dates and names. For me, that's not so much fun. I hear people behind me saying, no kidding. But you don't have to know the names and the dates of history to really appreciate what the narrative is. What happened in the past brings us to this point, and it still resonates with us, right? That's what we know in New Thought to be the butterfly effect. That sweet little butterfly on the other side of the world somewhere flaps its little wings, and that little tiny blast of air circles the globe and stays with us. And we continue to feel it. We know that in New Thought. In fact, we have sung a song many times at SLC. Every thought becomes a prayer. I better have some good thoughts if I'm praying with every one of them. We train ourselves to do that. For some people, it comes naturally. For a lot of us, we have to train ourselves. And that brings me to the topic for this morning, how to choose the news you use. And how to use the news you choose, because it goes both ways, doesn't it? And I am not going to ask you to listen to your radio all the time. There's no need to binge. That wouldn't be practical or right. I know there are other things in life. There's an old Apidone story from older Apidones than myself about a period of 2 weeks in October of 1962. It was the 2 weeks when my grandmother became very ill and died, and we held her funeral. And it just happened to be the same 2 weeks as the Cuban Missile Crisis. And if you ask any Apidone, even now, what was the Cuban Missile Crisis all about? We're like, we have no idea. Missed that 2 weeks completely. And I know the same thing happens in your life. There are other events going on, other complications, other things that are happening, and you're not paying attention to every minute of the news. But the important thing to remember is that when you are paying attention, when you are listening, that you pay attention to the plot line, that you pay attention to the narrative. A few years ago, when the situation in Syria began, we knew about it. We knew about the torture. We knew about children being killed. We knew all of that was going on. Now we look back at it and we say, wow, that's really awful. Too bad we didn't know about it earlier. We did. We knew about it earlier. In fact, at the beginning, there was a conversation about Syria on NPR. And I remember it so clearly because a military strategist said something that stunned me and I couldn't forget it. He said, they know the best way to destroy a country is to tear apart its families. It's a military strategy that might sound familiar to you. The best way to destroy a country is to tear apart its families. Just a couple of days before Black History Month began, January 27th was Holocaust Remembrance Day. And a journalist named Regina Brett wrote about that we have to hear about the atrocities. It's not long ago and far away. We have to hear about the atrocities so that we can pass on the information. That's important. And the result, she said, her words, the result is what happens when hate goes unchecked. Smithsonian Magazine had a whole issue about the journals that are written by young people who have died in various atrocities over the years in various countries. And yes, I ended up being quoted by something I said in reaction to that article. The most famous of those journals was by Anne Frank in the Holocaust. But there have been a lot of other young people who wrote a lot of other journals, sometimes as their own therapy, but sometimes hoping that someone would care about what happened after they were gone. Smithsonian Magazine drilled down. They really looked at the psychology of these journals, how they're written and how we respond to them. They drilled down and they said, we really don't want to know. We want to read the sweet parts. We want to read about family life, but when it comes to knowing how those journal keepers died, we tend to lose interest and turn the other way. How would you feel if you were being tortured, if you were dying, and you knew the world was looking the other way? If you can't remember all the names and all the dates, remember the narrative. And find a way to connect with that narrative. It's not happening in a vacuum. You're connected to it if you're paying attention. There are a lot of examples that are not long ago and far away. There are examples right now nearby, children at the border, people sleeping on the streets in our own city. Stefan Clark's kids, they're all around us. We don't need to know their names and their dates as long as we understand the narrative and take an opportunity to do something with that. I spend 7 hours of my day standing in a studio listening to news coverage. It's a lot. And I had to figure out at some point early in this career how to keep from going crazy when confronted with that for so many hours in the day. Turning off the news is not an option, but it turns out that keeping the news on is a blessing. It's a blessing to me beyond my wildest expectations, and it has in many ways become a form of ministry. I don't know as much about politics as a lot of other people. I've talked to people in this room who are so much better informed than I am, so much more knowledgeable about certain situations and certain stories in the news. And I'm grateful that you are. You know, journalists are not allowed to publicly talk about our opinions, right? It's in our code of ethics. It's good. It's good for you because it keeps us unbiased. So if I can't give my opinion, and again, you don't want me spouting off on everything, that's okay. If I can't give my opinion, what does that mean? It means I have to listen a little bit more. I have to listen, and I've learned how to do that. I've had to learn how to understand what I hear without getting angry, without giving up. Because those are the two options we often have in front of us, right? We hear something chaotic happening in the news and we react. We either get angry or we get depressed and we give up and we don't want to know about it. If I'm angry, if I give up, I am not being of service to my community. It's our job to be of service. It's our job to connect. News coverage is our call to spirituality. News coverage is our call to spirituality. I don't want to miss out on this opportunity, do you? We have much more to gain by listening than by turning off news coverage. And I am not here to build up my audience. Ratings are good, believe me. Not what I'm doing. And when I talk about listening to the news, listening is just the term I use because I work in radio. But you can read into that watching news, reading it online, reading it in print. All I ask of you is that you make sure you are dealing with a credible news source, because a whole lot of them aren't. There is a matrix that you can find online, and the URL is kind of hard to follow, so instead I'll just tell you, if you Google news matrix credibility, you will find it. News matrix credibility. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a lovely matrix, and top and center are a lot of really good, credible news sources. A lot of them. I was surprised to see how many fall into that top center area. And then there's the periphery that's not so credible and well worth knowing which is which. So that's how you choose the news. Now, how do you use the news you choose? Maybe to stretch our spirituality. Maybe to make the world a better place. I don't want to be a spiritual couch potato. When we let ourselves hear, really hear, we get more depth. We find out a lot more, not just facts, not dates and names, but we get a depth that we can actually feel, something that really resonates with us. Every time I listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, I hear something new, some phrasing I hadn't caught before, some little element, some instrument that was louder or softer than I thought the last time I heard it. There's always more texture if you're paying attention. And when I hear more and more news coverage, I understand a lot more. If you happen to have children in your life, you may be watching Sesame Street occasionally. And if you ever watch Sesame Street, you know that they end every episode with a song that says, we're getting smarter, stronger, kinder. And the kids are learning to sing this song, and they're also learning the hand signals, the gestures that go with it. Smarter, stronger, kinder, to really let that message sink in for them. We tell kids that they have a superpower. Every kid has a superpower. Every big kid has a superpower too. What's your superpower? Louise's superpower is to make everything around us beautiful. RJ's superpower is to see the radiant light in every single one of us. You have a superpower, and if you put that into play when you're listening to news, you're going to hear it a whole lot differently. You're going to hear it as a superhero, and that makes a difference. In order to kind of find my grounding for all of this, to get through the 7 hours a day in a studio without going crazy, I used the transformation path that's the same as the workshop that I taught at SLC for quite a while. 5 steps, so it's pretty easy to get through it. It's called transformation because you're never changing for yourself. Transforming is never for you. Transforming is always mission-based. You're always doing it for something outside yourself. So let's go through this and you'll see how it goes. The first step is to identify where I am. Just identify where I am. If I'm angry or I'm sad about something that's in the news, that's good. That's a really good thing. It just means that what's out there isn't resonating with what's in here. And I have to know that. It means I'm being called to something. So when something in the news upsets me, I see it as a wake-up call. Has anything in the news ever upset you? The second step is to eliminate anything that prevents me from feeling compassion. We can't see anybody else while we're wearing blinders. And if something is upsetting you in news, maybe it's time to say, I have my blinders on. Just not wanting to listen to the news is a form of wearing blinders, right? It's a reminder that you're wearing blinders. So I'm asking you to look closely at what you want to avoid in news coverage. Why do you want to avoid it? Maybe you're trying to eliminate something within yourself. Maybe it isn't what's in the news that's bothering us. Maybe it's something that's in our own hearts. And it's good to look at that. It's good to know that. I've asked people why they think they want to stop listening to the news, and I get answers like, it's hard, it's sad, I don't agree with them, I don't like those people, I can't take anymore. Well, you know what? It's not about us. It's never about us. It's about the energy that we're putting into the world. It's about the next generation and what they get from us. So, yeah, it might be hard. But we have to change that energy, and we can change that energy. This is an opportunity to open our hearts, not to close them. It may be hard to listen to the news sometimes, but that's the whole point. That's our call to spirituality. The people who are in the news are having a hard time too, but they can't do anything. Maybe we can. Maybe that's why we're called to it. And those are the next two steps in the transformation path. Step 3 is to find something that we can accept. Well, how about this? How about if we accept that we can open our hearts wider than we ever knew? Smarter, stronger, kinder. What if we take more responsibility for our personal power and for our energy that we're making every day and sending into the world? What if we make the choice to be more compassionate? We're compassionate now. We can be more compassionate. What if we use the news we choose? Maybe you're thinking what I've been thinking. It's easier to have compassion for some people than for other people. It's easier to feel compassion for the victims than the perpetrators. It's not always easy to love a politician. I don't even know which politician you're thinking of. But it's our job to love them. Seriously, we have the capacity, the spiritual capacity, just in this room alone, to look at those perpetrators and those politicians and see them with love. If we're not doing that every day, we certainly have the capacity to start. And we do that by finding common ground. Common ground with those people. Oh boy. There's a lot of research on compassion. From places like Harvard University, I mean, really, top drawer research being done. And the way to compassion is connection. Because those people in the news, the ones you don't like all that much, the ones that make you snicker in the background, they have something in common with you. They're children of God. Every single one of them. Wow. All the people we don't like, the bombers, the shooters, the abusers, the neglectors, the politicians on both sides of the aisle are children of God, and we all have that in common. And that's where connection and compassion begins, in that uncomfortable place. Every morning, I cry at least once, listening to the news. Sometimes it's a tragedy. Sometimes it's something that's really warm and really tender, and it's a good cry. But it happens, and there's always something that is so moving that I'm not sure I can speak. And that's where this gift kicks in. That's when I know I'm feeling compassion. That's when I know I can really hold space with somebody. You can do that too. Why would you want to turn off the news if you can cry and feel a connection to somebody. It takes a lot of courage because I'm asking you to extend yourself. But we can do this. Smarter, stronger, kinder. Did I mention social media? That takes courage, doesn't it? People on social media calling newsmakers pure evil. Is it even possible for a child of God to be pure evil? People on social media mocking and degrading families, name-calling, blaming each other, bullying by calling someone else a bully, hating by calling someone else the haters. Do you ignore it? Would you ignore it if it happened in your living room? Because in a way, it's happening in your living room. More than once, I've had to stand up to somebody who posted something like that and say, hey, I know you better than that. That's not who you are. That's not who I want you to be. We have to ask a little bit more from everybody, including ourselves, because we don't get it if we don't ask for it. Some of the people who were heroes when I was younger were people who had great moments and great influence on the civil rights movement. Dr. King and Malcolm X, for very different reasons, but still just influence what we're still doing today. Their energy is still with us. And just last week, we lost Frank Robinson, who I got to see play, got to see coach and manage. I am nowhere near their wisdom. I can't even pretend to be. But I wonder what they would say if they were with us now. I wonder what they would do. They were pretty consistent in their message, so maybe they would say to us what they always said. Sit with each other. Learn from each other. Don't run away. Remember who you are. Remember what you believe in. Hold each other's hands and walk across that bridge. My dad used to say, break bread with your enemies. Frank Robinson last week, in all the obits about him, said he did not break barriers to break barriers. He wanted to accomplish something, but he knew that breaking barriers would be for the next people who came after him. Understanding the narrative of news helps the ones who come after us. Use what you hear in the news. You don't have to engage in somebody else's anger. You don't have to ignore news coverage. We're bigger than that. We're an informed electorate, and we're children of God. The best bet is surrender. That's the fourth step in the transformation path. Not giving up, spiritual surrender. The kind that helps us understand that we contribute to what's happening in the world and that it's not about us. Surrender allows us to change the world. Surrender allows us to change the world. The fifth step in the transformation path is authentic action. And by that, I do not mean turning off your TV. Authentic action. Remember the old saying, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem? If we're not informed, we can't be part of the solution. We have to know what's going on. It's also dangerous to only have half of the information. Last October, a journalist named Jamal Khashoggi was killed in Istanbul. Nobody wanted to listen to that story. It was brutal. And I almost didn't. I almost got the gist of it and then turned away. But I listened, and I realized something that applied to my life. I can't travel internationally and go through customs and fill out the little form and identify as a journalist. It's not safe. If I hadn't paid attention to the narrative, I would have been in danger. Which makes me want to ask you, what vital information have you missed by ignoring the news and missing the narrative? Remember, connection is the key to compassion. Connecting with people, making a difference. Knowing about the past, like the Holocaust. Knowing about the present, like Syria. And knowing how to use the past to affect the future, which is in large part what Black History Month is about. Choose the news you use and use the news you choose. 5 easy steps, right? We can do this. I don't know exactly what they'll be celebrating this time in February, 100 years from now. But I know it depends on what we do now. I know it depends on what information we pass on, and it depends on what energy we put into the world. So that's your challenge. Listen for the narrative. Smarter, stronger, kinder. It always helps if you're going to walk out of here and remember that, to do it with me. Smarter, stronger, kinder. Y'all are great superheroes. Thank you.
Donna, pardon me, my frog decided to join us. Kermit. Donna has a table out in the courtyard with her books, so go out there and see her. And James will be back with us next week. As we move into our love offering, the other day I was riding along and I heard a song on the radio, and it was a really old song. It's called "It Is Better to Give Than Receive," and I bet you it was a recording from the 1940s. Yeah. And I realized that what they were saying is very one-sided, because if you're not giving and receiving, things are not in circulations. If we only give, we become limited, and if we only receive, we become limited. And opening to the flow is what dissolves all our limitations. So as we give today in love, we receive with open hearts, because we know that your support is what allows us to continue to give to you. And all of our blessings continue in a never-ending circle of love. So let us embody the words of our offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I circulate, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God. Each of us is a fragile miracle. We are evidence of divine creation and divine grace. We are unique, unrepeatable gifts of the world. We are proof of divine love, and so we, who are the gifts of creation, bless this offering, these gifts given in love. And let us join in our peace song. Let's say our prayer for protection.